final score: Wrexham 1, Bristol Rovers 1, and this does not kill off our promotion hopes. We're only 1 point behind second placed Wycombe, but it means we're going to have to take a more scenic route than we might have hoped, because our chances are now not in our hands. On the face of it, the facts don't look great. A side that lost their last 6 matches and dropped into the bottom 4 last weekend, managing to get a result at the racecourse where we are normally so strong. It was an interesting game. It was an exciting game if you didn't have any skin in it. But yeah, frustratingly, Wrexham were unable to close out those 3 points. And I do feel, before we should go any further, I think there should be a lot of credit to Bristol Rovers, who, as their recent results imply, are having a rough time of it. We really should have beaten them at their place as well. And this was a different looking team. Their manager, Inigo Calderon, has been getting a bit of criticism, but his side worked exceptionally hard for him. He was saying before the match that he wasn't going to surrender his principles and park the bus. Well, they certainly didn't, and their boldness, I think, played an important part in getting the result. Having said that, we were strong early on, and if we got a goal during that period, I suspect the game would have gone as planned. A couple of changes made, making the team look very attacking. Ryan Barnett and Ryan Longman named as the 2 wing-backs. Elliot Lee coming in for George Dobson. So we had a bit of attacking thrust. But yeah, early on, you sort of felt, okay, this is all right. It's going our way. Bristol Rovers were not sitting deep. They were looking to defend in the mid-block as much as they could. They were pressing well. Brave, committing players into our half. And Kofi Shaw, who was highly rated, you could see why. He looked really lively as he was looking to make the most of things. If the ball was coming to him, he could start the counter-attack. And yeah, they looked to take the game to us. They played with quite a high line though. And you sort of felt, because of this, we are getting at them a bit. They weren't always putting the pressure on the ball in the middle of the pitch they ought to have done. And there were times when they looked a little bit more open, or if we could play our way through the press. And you sort of suspected that the breakthrough was coming. Didn't make a chance really till the 9th minute, but it was after a good spell of pressure. Bristol Rovers really penned into the penalty area that it came. Rathbone feeding Cleworth, who saw the chance to step up to the edge of the area, carried it and drove a powerful shot. Took a big deflection. The first of a string of really good saves by Jed Ward, who, like I say, it taking a deflection, had to be excellent to get to it. It deflected, it was heading with pace up at the top right corner, and it was a brilliant acrobatic save, lunging across and getting a hand to it to claw it round the post for the corner. And the pressure continues. A couple of minutes later, another corner, Rathbone sweeping the ball in. It's cleared back out to the flank. Rathbone picked her up and scooped a cute little effort over the top. It's a shot. Although he's out wide, he's clearly thinking, I can curl this inside the far post. And another very agile save by Jed Ward, who managed to backpedal and at full stretch just got fingertips on it and pushed it away. I think, having looked at it again, that the save has to be good because his initial positioning is poor. Just as Rathbone's receiving it, Ward steps out beyond his near post. There's no real need to do that, I would say. There's no angle to shorten as such. You'd expect a cross. Rathbone's caught him out with hitting the ball on target to the far post. Ward's given himself a problem by stepping so far forwards. But he, to be fair, recovers with an outstanding save. Really good agile work by him. So, yeah, at that point you're thinking, okay, we're 12 minutes in. We're against a team who are coming at us, so we're not just trying to work away at a deep defence, and their keeper's made 2 genuinely good saves. This is going okay. But we lose a little bit of momentum having not scored during that spell of control. And like I said, I think Bristol Rovers have a lot of credit. They have a threat, and they carve out an opportunity or a half chance from a free kick by Butcher, whose set piece delivery would be very important to them. Puts it into the box. Taylor heads the ball down. Odonka back to goal round a penalty spot, takes a good touch, turns and hits it, but Matty James does ever so well. He's marking him, he gets really tight and he blocks the shot. Wrexham start to get a bit more momentum going after the 20th minute. Long ball forwards, Taylor making a mistake on the edge of his area. Barnett picks her up, carries it square, feeds Lee. Now Lee, on a couple of occasions, had got the ball to this left-sided sort of channel, and I think it was a little bit torn between whether to shoot, because in those situations, maybe Bristol Rovers were getting it slightly long, with sort of backing off and defending the edge of the area, and Lee, 3 times by this point, had been able to carry it forwards. I think the best options were to either shoot or play a quick ball out wide. The first one, he hesitated and a good block came in on him. The second one, he played it out wide. This one, he decides he's going to hit it. He pulls it quite badly, but Rodriguez is attacking the 6-yard box, and it goes through his legs as he tries to just get a touch and turn it around the corner and into the net. Good thinking by him, but just couldn't get the contact. On that left flank though, Longman and Lee are really looking encouraging. They've never really had much chance to combine before, and they're looking very sharp and threatening. Another chance comes when a long ball forwards by Brunt, a tremendous ball by Brunt from the halfway line, slices open Bristol Rovers defence. It's the one time we really hit Smith running into that space behind the high front line. Smith accelerates onto it, gets there first. The keeper Ward is committed and can't quite get there, but he has forced Smith wide. Smith hasn't got a shooting angle. He maybe could have taken it first time, but it'd be a hell of a finish. So he checks back onto his other foot, feeds it back to Longman. Keeper's not got back in between his posts yet. There are bodies between Longman and the goal, but obviously if he gets this right, as Rathbone did with the one that was saved by Ward, it's a goal. And he doesn't. He tries to lift it over the defenders and curl it in the far post. Doesn't come back enough. It's well wide. Barnett really frustrated because he's unmarked at the far post, and if Longman looks up and just pops it in for him, he's going to score. But yeah, frustration for Wrexham as a real opportunity. A couple of minutes later, another opportunity, this time a corner which is swept in. Ward comes into the crowd and gets a good punch on it. Longman retrieves it well on the right flank though, pulls it back. Barnett stands a good cross back in. Smith wins a header and it drops again for Cleworth. Cleworth this time drives in a powerful shot from almost the same spot that he had that effort from before at the edge of the area. Great save low down to his right, acrobatic again by Ward. He pushes it straight back out though, but Rodriguez is well offside. He squares it to Rathbone, who scores, but no complaints that the goal is disallowed. Great save though by Ward before the offside came into play. Now then, Bristol Rovers in this time obviously are conceding chances, but because they're not just coming and trying to hang on, they are looking lively on the breakaway. Like I said, Shaw in particular. And a couple of minutes before they take the lead, Shaw shows his threat. Great break down the right-hand side. Does really well to work it forwards to Butcher, who takes a touch on the turn and tries to hook it into the top left corner and just gets a bit too much on it and it goes wide. But 2 minutes later, Butcher, he hasn't scored, but he gets an assist. Corner, left-hand side. He whips it in. Moore makes a great run right to left to the near post and a good glancing header which Conco can't reach, and Bristol Rovers take the lead. The marking's poor. If you look at it, it's a bad goal to concede. The 3 centre-backs are there standing in line. More interestingly is the first one, and you sort of think, alright, what's going to happen here? They're going to split, or is he just a blocker? You sort of think, because he's the one who's actually, his marker can get touched tight to, you would assume, that he'd be the one who stays marked, and yet he's the one who loses his marker and arrives at the near post and heads it home. O'Connell was the player closest to him, whether it was him who was supposed to pick him up or not. It appeared to be. And sadly for Wrexham, the rest of the half would be frustrating, and would include an injury to O'Connell, who tried to carry on but was brought off at half time. Let's hope that's just a precaution. The rest of the half is not good for Wrexham either. Lately we've just picked up a little bit of a bad habit of not responding well to conceding, and it happens again. We start snatching at passes, we start trying too hard to make something happen, and we don't create anything in the rest of the half. We need half time. Phil Parkinson suspended, but as I found out now, because I didn't know at the time, is allowed in at half time to talk to the team. Dan Scarr replaces O'Connell, and Wrexham start positively. In fact, we nearly score 5 minutes into the second half, where a difference that would be. A free kick left hand side of midfield, a cute one, great run by Rodriguez. Lee, instead of putting it in the box as having to expect, feeds it down the flank. Rodriguez holds it up there and then works Lee back in a great position, and he puts a fine cross at the far post. Ward can't reach it. Smith is in front of an open goal, but he can't properly reach it either. So frustrating, from about 3-4 yards out in front of an open goal, but he just can't get a proper contact, and it flicks off his head and goes off target. We keep going, we keep working, but the openings are not being created. So 63rd minute, we make changes. It's Stephen Fletcher, beg your pardon, and James McLean coming on. Rodriguez goes off, Ryan Barnett goes off, Longman switches to the right hand side, and Fletcher starts getting some change out of the centre backs in the air, although the first opportunity is actually Scar winning a header. Longman, after a good spell of pressure, after a corner was cleared and we just penned them in the box, stands the ball up to the far post. Scar gets up, heads it down into the goal mouth, and Longman does terrifically well to follow his cross in. Taylor is there. Taylor is beaten to it by Longman, who's now right in the goal mouth. The referee gives a foul to Taylor. I think he's a bit lucky, Taylor, if I'm honest, because I think it's the sort of Nicholas Otamendi school of defending. If you feel a touch, you go down, which I don't like. And, you know, you do that in your own goal mouth and the ref says that there's not enough in it. You've really let your team down. But the ref does give this one. I think it's a bit generous. He goes down a bit spectacularly. I have to say Longman's pullback does not find a teammate. It finds Sawyers, the midfielder for Bristol Rovers. But, you know, maybe he heard the whistle as you play in the pass, I don't know. But that was frustrating for Wrexham, because if the whistle doesn't go, Longman certainly has a glorious opportunity to give us an equaliser or set up an equaliser. Longman then sets up another chance. Good cross to the far post. Great chance of Fletcher. 15 yards out. Free header. He heads it into the ground. I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do. My God, I would never tell Stephen Fletcher what the right thing to do is in the air or in life in general. But he hits it into the ground a bit too much. Doesn't quite get the angle of it right. Having said that, having headed it down in front of him, it then rears up, and Ward makes an outstanding save. And it's hard to choose, but maybe this is the best one, because they're difficult, those, when the ball bounces in front and then goes back up again. You set yourself starting to go down, then it's going back up and you have to change direction. And I genuinely, when he gave a corner, I was thinking, why? I didn't realise he's managed to get his left hand up and get a brilliant hand onto it, just to touch it over the bar. Fabulous save, fabulous save. We keep huffing and puffing, and we're not really getting anywhere. Quarter of an hour left. George Dobson comes on for Lewis Brunt. Nothing wrong with Brunt's performance, but we're going for it at the back. And within 70 seconds, we have equalised. It's a good ball by James to start the move off. And Wrexham again pen them in. Eventually Dobson gets it on the right, pulls the ball in. I bet him no, Longman does, beg your pardon. Lee jumps for the challenge, just beaten to it in the air. The ball drops for Matty James, and he does brilliantly. He's just inside the box, right channel. It's a very awkward take. He does brilliantly to tame the ball in the first place, and it's still sitting behind him. And he does superbly just to alter his body shape and manage to dig out a shot. The right side of the goal is clear. He's got a sight of it and he just feeds it in there and scores. It's a great goal. It's a great finish. Really good work by James. And now the crowd, who have been really pushing Wrexham on, the crowd got anxious in the first half, really were roaring them on in the second half, are up. Wrexham are getting opportunities now. A couple of minutes later, Rathbone sweeps in a corner. Lee wins the header at the far post, puts it back in the goal mouth. Smith looks to time his run perfectly and makes contact 6 yards out, but he just doesn't quite arrive in time, and so his header lacks power. He can't get the leverage onto it, and it's an easy save for Ward. 6 minutes left. We make another change. Jack Marriott comes on for Elliot Lee, and we push hard. We make one more chance with 4 minutes left. Scar, the good switch over to the left hand side. Great take by Fletcher. He stands in a good cross too. Smith goes for a scissors kick. If he pulled off a Mark Hughes scissors kick, he'd have a statue to him built before the cop's ready. but a defender jumping just takes it away from him with his head. A glancing contact. Longman, who starts off the move, is running into the box unmarked. He's in a great position, and his touch lets him down. He has to run 5, 6, 7 yards square to retrieve the ball. Still in the box, still hits the shot, but it's blocked and drops to Mares, who's offside. It's a shame, obviously, because I want us to win. It's a shame as well because Longman is, I mean, one of the main things that strikes me is just how technically good he is. You see he's above League One level with his technique, and yet ironically that's the one time his touch lets him down. If he brought it down nicely, he would have had time on the right side of the box to set himself for a shot or feed and kill a ball in. And as well, okay, I made it sound like it's one-way possession and pressure from Wrexham in the second half. I suppose it is, although Bristol Rovers defend well. There's not that many clear-cut chances, and they actually have the last 2 opportunities going forwards as well. 2 minutes from the end, Hunt carrying it forwards, chips it into the goal mouth. Cleworth does ever so well. Hutchison's just come on as a sub, and he's 6 yards out at the far post, getting up. Can't get any power on his header, and he doesn't get the direction right either. It goes wide because Cleworth is really backing into him and making sure that his ability to get up and meet the ball is restricted. Important work by Cleworth. If he doesn't get touch tight and do that, that is the easiest header you could imagine. And in the second minute of added time, Rovers have a shout for a penalty. Shaq Ford on the right, driving into the box. Scar goes shoulder to shoulder with him. Ford goes down. Ford has a look at the ref. He's clearly asking for it, but he's not pushing it that much. So his teammates do. Hunt's really going mad asking for it. And at the final whistle, Taylor is really gesticulating at the ref and pointing into the box. It's not a penalty. And you can see the way Ford, it's speculative by Ford. Fair enough. He hits the deck, he slides, he's having a look at the ref. The ref's not interested, he just gets up. You can see him on the stream, he just gets up and jogs back into position. He's not going to push it. Scar showed good strength, it was good defending. So that's that. I've got to say, Bristol Rovers wasted a lot of time, and there were only 4 minutes added on. I always say this, that's not their fault. If I was in the position they were in and I started wasting time and the referee didn't do anything about it, I'd carry on. So it's on the ref, that, for me, not Bristol Rovers. It was very frustrating and the Wrexham fans were going nuts watching it. But yeah, if you can do that and help yourself and there's no consequence, you carry on doing it. And that hope that he'll add time on at the end, 4 minutes didn't do it justice. I mean, there was a double sub by, it was Bristol, and then we brought on a player at the same time, and that was that was Marius, 84th minute. So that was quite late on when the refs obviously thinking about how much to add on, and that took about 2 minutes. So they only had 4 minutes on. Clearly the refs not added any consideration for time wasting. In the first half, a couple of times he warned Bristol Rovers players to hurry up, and yet in the second half he didn't, and there was no discernible difference. I wondered whether it influenced a substitution by Bristol Rovers, because Thomas, who did a good job on the left, he's a wing back, he was playing, when I've seen him previously, he's more of an attacking player and did very well against us when we met at the Memorial Ground earlier this season. He should have been booked in the first minute. It was a late challenge on Barnett. So one of those where Barnett gets there first, Thomas is swinging and hits him quite hard and quite high. I'm not trying to say Thomas meant it, but it's got to be a yellow card. I mean, it's just got to be. But the referee does that. It's the first minute of the match. Oh, I don't book anyone at the first minute of the match. I mean, where does it say in the rules don't apply the laws of the game if it's early in the match? It's to me, I don't like that. I have to say as well, I want to be totally fair about this. Barnett, about 20 minutes later, pulls Thomas back, and to me it's also a cast iron yellow. Both of them are definite yellows, and the referee ignores that as well, just gives a free kick, almost like, oh well, I've evened it up now. But then Thomas commits another foul. You think, okay, well, surely he and Barnett are on last warnings. The ref goes across and warns him again. Now you're thinking, this guy's lucky. And he does get booked in the second half, but it's his third yellow as far as I could see. And then he goes to take a throw in, and he takes a long time over it and leaves it for a teammate. And you think, oh wow, what if he gets away with the first two and then gets a second yellow for time wasting? Ooh, of course the ref doesn't, but they sub him off soon afterwards. I can't help wondering. I mean, okay, they do bring on a defensive player instead. Clinton Mola also could play left wing back. He played very poorly against us actually down the Memorial, but also can play centre back. So okay, it made sense at that point in the game. But still, maybe Thomas was lucky. Having said all of that, you cannot look at the ref and attempt to blame him for the fact we didn't win. It was down to the fact that we didn't make enough chances, that we weren't sharp enough when we got on the end of them, and that Bristol Rovers, like I said, to be fair, pressed well. They were well organised. They knew when to press and when to drop into that mid-block, and that, combined with the excellence of Jed Ward, meant that we were thwarted. Let's look at the performances anyway. Arthur Okonkwo couldn't help the goal and had nothing else to do, in all honesty. The three centre-backs, O'Connell I thought had a really good first half. He was intercepting, but not just making interceptions, making sure he can control the ball as well, and then would start moves off. He was pinging some nice diagonals. Such a shame that he went off injured. I thought he did ever so well. Although I've got to say Dan Scarr did very well in the second half as well. And sometimes I've looked at Scarr and I can see he's a very good defender. And sometimes think, well, is his passing not on the same level as O'Connell's? I think I probably would say that. But I thought he played some great diagonals today. In fact, his passing was terrific. O'Connell was also, though, driving balls between the lines. Lee was making nice little runs inside from his central left-sided position, getting space between the lines, and O'Connell was really doing well, finding them and drilling those passes in. And we missed that. But Scarr was very, very good, and very good defensively as well. Either side of the central centre-back, Cleworth was, again, as always, reliable defensively and came forward and helped put quite a few crosses into the box. On the other side, Brunt did nothing wrong. He was subbed for tactical reasons, played that glorious ball through for Smith. He's got good passing range, hasn't he, Brunt? And again, was untroubled defensively. The wing-backs, it didn't quite work, having the two really attacking wing-backs. Doesn't say it can't in future, but it didn't this time. Barnett got some good stuff in, don't get me wrong. But I think because they worked very hard, like I said, on the press, they didn't drop off deep, and the wing-backs were able to mark our wing-backs, and when the ball was worked out wide, their midfield was really energetic and was getting across quickly. Neither of the wing-backs, until the last half hour or so, were really able to get the ball facing forwards and run forwards. They were up in high positions, they were receiving it back to goal, their defenders tight on them, midfielders coming in on them, and so Barnett wasn't tending to get the ball in the manner he'd like to, running on it from deep, combining with people and then taking on the wing backs. He rarely managed to get a situation where he got Thomas isolated, so feel sympathy for him on that. I think Longman, I'm going to go man of the match for Longman. He put a lot of deliveries in, he put a lot of decent deliveries in as well. Gosh, I did see the stats, 30-something crosses that we put into their box. We won 7, and Phil Parkinson did say afterwards that our quality of crossing could be better, but I think a lot of the good crosses were from Longman, who was aggressive and positive on either flank, and I thought did a good job. Shame he couldn't take that first touch to have a chance at the end. Centre mid, Matty James is maybe the other man of the match contender. I thought, apart from his well-taken goal, he was very good in his use of the ball, kept trying to keep it moving as quickly as he could on a slick surface, which was important, and did a couple of good pieces of play defensively. Either side of him, Lee. It's nice to see Lee looking a bit more into his normal form. He was lively and creative. I think he was changed around as much just to have a look at different things and different styles as much as anything else. A fresh pair of legs in, but he was lively, delivered some crosses in, and some decent passes into the edge of the area. On the other side, Rathbone, as always, terrific effort. Wasn't quite able to get the sort of passing game going when he was looking to be progressive. He had a chance to put Smith clear at the start of the second half and under-hit it, and it's a sort of pass that a player of his calibre normally is able to get right, so that was a little bit frustrating, but he's certainly, as ever, put in a great shift. Up front, again, Rodriguez, when we're putting pressure on early on, is looking lively and able to get involved, and then, like a crack record, you know, as the game started to go away from us, or not so much away from us, but we weren't able to sustain the pressure, was dropping off into midfield more, doing a good job for the team, but not able to get up into positions where he could hurt Bristol Rovers. And Smith again had, his days seem to divide between heroic and frustrating. The frustrating ones, he does the same things as on the heroic ones, but the service maybe doesn't quite come in right. He gets one good ball by Brunt to put him in behind the defence. The cross is just not quite right, and so he's so close to getting the contact and can't quite, or he can reach it, but he can't make the contact needed to steer it on target. Yeah, on another day, he could have scored a couple, and there was nothing wrong with his performance whatsoever. Substitutes, Fletcher did well, again, works well with Smith. I think maybe when we really went all out and had Smith, Marriott and Fletcher on the pitch at the same time, I don't know, we actually didn't make any chances then. I see exactly why we do it. It makes sense to do it. It's correct, it's worked so many times for us, but on this occasion I think we were a bit too close together, if you will. I don't know. But Fletcher, again, good game, and had it not been for the keeper, he'd have scored at that downwards header. Although I think if he'd really nailed it as he'd wanted to, the keeper would have had an even better save. Wow, if such a thing is possible. Dobson came on 15 minutes later, left, and he made a good impression. I thought he was very energetic. It was a classic example of fresh legs. Put a couple of good balls into the box, snappy little pass into the edge of the area and a build up to the goal. And so I think he'll have been very pleased with the fact, he definitely lifted us a bit when he came on. It was hard for Marriott to get into the speed of the game, which is understandable when he's come on, with 6 minutes left, lots of effort, but just couldn't get fully involved. So McLean, the other player who came on for Barnett, I thought he did a good game on the left hand side, got some service in, was robust, was driving forwards. Once we go to that, it's not really a four with a diamond we go to when we start really going for broke, is it? Because one of the fullbacks, Longman on this occasion, basically plays as a winger right up the pitch. So McLean, once that change was made, had to stay back more, and he doesn't become a third centre back, but he does sit in as a more orthodox full back to allow Longman to be up the pitch. But he did that part of the job well too. So frustrating, really frustrating, and a real shame. On paper, that's the easiest game out of the last four. Of course, Bristol Rovers are fighting for their lives and were organised. They played really well a week and a half ago against Birmingham and should have got something out of it. They lost 2-1, they could easily have won it. And unfortunately for us, they maintained that record of playing well against stronger teams. And we maintained our record of dropping points against teams in the bottom four, which has happened a bit too often this season. If we picked up half the points we've dropped into the bottom four teams, we'd have a couple of points gap on Wycombe. But hey, there's no point crying over spilt milk. We go again on Monday. Maybe it's a good thing to only have a couple of days to stew on it before getting back out there and see if we can get a result at Blackpool. So, with the final score of Wrexham 1, Bristol Rovers 1, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.